Step 7. Reading a label. As a dietitian, I never recommend anyone count calories, carbs, proteins, or fat grams. Why? Because that won't tell you about the quality and source of a specific food. Plus, it's boring and it isn't always sustainable. We all need calories to live. In fact, the brain needs 400 calories just from carbohydrates to function properly. Macronutrients are carbs, proteins, and fats, and they're essential for life. We know we need these important nutrients, although it just depends on the quality. The number one way to determine the quality of a food that contains a nutrition label is to look at the ingredients. If a food contains one ingredient, chances are it's healthy. If a food doesn't have an ingredient list or a food label, it's a superfood. Before joining On Target Living, I worked as a corporate retail dietitian for Meijer supermarkets. It was my dream job right out of college, and I learned so much about the world of food. What I learned, most importantly, was that 40% of the items in your typical grocery store aren't real food. They are simply long lists of ingredients that most likely are made in a lab. While most people would say that shopping healthy is confusing, it doesn't have to be if you read the ingredients. You can weed out all of these unhealthy non-food items simply by reading the ingredients and knowing the source of where your food is coming from. When we give our body the right ingredients, it knows what to do. Think about your typical ballpark beef hot dog. If you look at the ingredients, you'll find that there's no beef in the actual ingredient list or in the product. So instead of giving up hot dogs, the things that you love, you just look for a better alternative. You find hot dogs that have real ingredients, things that you can pronounce like grass-fed beef or herbs or spices. So there's no reason to have to give anything up. It's just about upgrading the quality of your ingredients, and whatever it is that you're currently consuming, just find ways to make it better. Plus, when you start to upgrade the quality of your food, the less likely you are to overeat and therefore have to count calories or anything else for that matter. Better quality foods closest to the source will be very nourishing and satisfying. How often do you find that you overeat broccoli or spaghetti squash or zucchini pasta? All of these things are flavorful, but they're also very satisfying. You'll find that foods closest to the source will be more flavorful because flavor actually comes from nutrients. We weren't born craving unhealthy foods. None of us thought that our first sip of coffee or our first taste of beer was delicious. In fact, when we were babies, the first 5 foods that babies typically start on are bananas, avocado, squash, sweet potatoes, and carrots. We were born craving delicious, wholesome foods closest to the source that provide actual nutrients and flavor. To summarize, when reading a label, the only thing you should look at is the ingredients. Less is best. If you can't read it, you shouldn't eat it. And always avoid high fructose corn syrup, artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, preservatives, and anything that you can't pronounce. When it comes to mindful eating, many people wonder if they really need to buy most of their foods organic. Organic foods are produced without using pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, antibiotics, and fertilizers made from synthetic ingredients. Organic meat, poultry, eggs, and dairy products come from animals that are not fed or given pesticides, growth hormones, or antibiotics. Try to buy these products organic whenever possible to avoid consuming residual pesticides, antibiotics, growth hormones, and GMO feed. Try to choose organic dairy products like cheese and yogurt. Typically, I don't recommend cow's milk because the protein molecule cow's milk is very difficult for the human gut to break down. Cow's milk can lead to inflammation, allergies, autoimmune issues, asthma, skin problems. So when consuming high-quality calcium sources, you want to focus more on leafy greens, nuts, seeds, ancient grains, and plant-based milks. You also want to make sure that you preserve your calcium stores versus depleting them from eating acidic-forming foods and beverages like coffee, soda pop, and processed foods. These items can all leach calcium out from the body. In general, all of your animal proteins or animal products should all be organic when possible. When choosing seafood, you don't have to focus on buying organic. This doesn't really tell you the quality and source of specific seafood items. Instead, you want to look for wild-caught sources. Wild game meats are also great to include, like ostrich, bison, elk. You can find these at most grocery stores. Grass-fed meats will be richer in omega-3, so if you can choose grass-fed when possible, especially when it comes to consuming beef, but organic, grass-fed is what you want to look for. Believe it or not, we should also be consuming our coffee and teas organic when possible. Coffee and tea tend to contain more fertilizers and pesticides than any other beverage. This can all disrupt our system and lead to inflammation. When possible, look for organic sources or know where your coffee is coming from. Ideally, when drinking tea, I like to focus more on herbal teas like chamomile, ginger, turmeric, peppermint, licorice root. These will all be naturally non-caffeinated and they're very soothing on the gut. They help with digestion, they help with elimination, and they're very energizing. When it comes to beverages, water should be your beverage of choice. Ideally, you want to aim to drink half your body weight in ounces of water per day. So if you weigh 140 pounds, ideally you need 70 ounces of water. Water cleans the body. It aids in digestion, it can curb your appetite, and it is extremely powerful for health. When choosing water, you want to look for spring waters, artesian waters, pH balanced waters, or even ionized waters. Try to avoid purified or distilled water, as this water strips all of its natural minerals and can make the body very acidic. Also, if choosing filtered water, you can simply add a lemon or lime to increase the pH balance and make it more alkalizing, which helps to lower inflammation. Tap water can be a very healthy choice as long as you know where your water is coming from. When choosing to buy organic fruits and vegetables, start with the Dirty Dozen. These are fruits and vegetables that have the highest pesticide levels. These become more important if you plan to eat the skin on these products, which is where most of the pesticides and fertilizers live. The Dirty Dozen produce items with highest pesticide levels include apples, peppers, carrots, celery, cherries, grapes, lettuce, nectarines, peaches, pears, spinach, and strawberries. The Cleaner Dozen are produce items that have low pesticide levels. Most of these items you're peeling away the skin. These include asparagus, avocado, bananas, broccoli, cauliflower, kiwi, mangoes, onions, peas, pineapple, sweet potatoes, and melon. When buying organic, I also like to choose anything that comes in a package organic. I like to look for the USDA organic seal, which tells me that 95% or more of the ingredients in a specific product are organic. I also find that many organic products tend to be higher in quality, and therefore they're not made with genetically modified ingredients, they don't have artificial colors, flavors, preservatives, and they tend to have a cleaner ingredient list. So in summary, when reading a label, you want to focus on ingredients. Ingredients will be number one indicator of quality. You also want to make sure that you are buying your animal products organic when possible and any of the Dirty Dozen items. You also want to make sure that you're avoiding imitation or fake products. Stay away from products like Tofurkey, margarines, butter substitutes, soy burgers, veganese, vegetarian meats, vegan cheese, or packaged gluten-free items. These products tend to be loaded with processed soy, corn, and genetically modified ingredients. Avoid artificial or zero-calorie sweeteners or beverages. If choosing a zero-calorie sweetener, your best option will be stevia. It's simply made by combining the stevia plant with a little water to make a powder. This is going to be something that the body can recognize because it's actually real food. Many of these artificial calorie sweeteners or beverages are very acidic on the body and can contribute to cravings, inflammation, poor gut health, and even migraines. Keep in mind that shortcuts don't work. Avoid anything fake, cheap, or easy. After all, we are what we eat.